Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I ended up doing 24 years straight in the California prison system. During that time, I accumulated some good stories and some good insights on things related to that stuff, and I'm going to share a little bit with y'all today. In the event you happen to like this, and definitely be sure, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. I also be gassing on that mic, man. I get extremely busy. Be sure to definitely hit my page and check out some of my videos. I just dropped a video the other day featuring on a song with Urge 7 and Little Ratchet. The name of the song is It Ratchet? Y'all definitely check that out. I gassed that. All right, so that being said, we're gonna hop right into this right here. This little talk right here is gonna be about the art of discipline. And when you in a gang, they call it a DP. And basically what a DP is, it's a physical punishment. You know what I'm saying? More times than not. Now I'm not just to talk about the CMAC, the Crip Mac situation per se. I'm just supposed to talk about how getting a discipline sometimes is something that's deeply rooted, at least in the California gangbanging culture, and also in the prison culture. And actually, my talk today is going to be more about getting a DP in prison. Now, like I say, a DP is basically, it's a physical, more times than not, a physical punishment when you have done something that's detrimental or counterproductive to the collective that you hang with. So, you know, and actually somebody asked me the question a couple days ago, you know, what constitutes a DP? And like I said, it just all depends. It can be numerous things that can cause a person to get a DP. For one, like I said, when you're doing things that the collective that you hang out with, that they frown upon, and now you're potentially causing a problem, because when a person is in prison and he's running with a collective, more times than not, his collective is going to be involved in his activities once his activities get out of hand and it starts affecting other people. So let me give you an example right here. Say I owe somebody. I've been running around gambling, you know, playing cards, and I can't pay my debt. Now, eventually, whoever I owe, the protocol is going to be the person that I owe eventually is going to come get at whoever I run with and say, hey, man, Chill owes a debt. Chill been owing me $50. He was supposed to pay Tuesday. It's 2 weeks. He's not going to pay. Now, then whoever I runs with will get at me to confirm if it's true. Then they'll try to figure out some type of way to make me pay this person. Now, that's what's supposed to happen. But now say the person that I'm gambling with, he's a hothead. He's tired of waiting or whatever. You know, he don't want to, you know, he gets upset and he just comes outside and he punches me and we start fighting. Some people who ride with me may not know what's going on. They may run over there to my aid to assist me. And now some of his friends see some of my friends jumping him. And so now it turns into a big melee. And so that's why it is so important for when you're in prison and you're doing business, whatever type of business it is, whether it's gambling, whether it's drugs, to do your business in a manner that it's not going to affect other people. And so that's why sometimes the collective that you're running with may feel a need to discipline a person, you know. So now let's rewind, you know. So now what my collective is trying to do is they're trying to prevent me from getting to the point to where it turns into a fight. And so that's why sometimes a DP, a discipline, is also known as a DP. That's why sometimes it may be carried out. But there's many other reasons. You know, it may be drugs. You know, it may be disrespect. You know, say you may have an individual. And we had a story like this. And we had a situation like this. And I'm going to do a story like this probably. We had an individual who ran with my collective. Now, this dude, for whatever reason, maybe he was a little loose in the head, but he was extremely problematic in the way he programmed, meaning that he was always getting into it with people, you know. He claimed people were staring at him and this and that. So, of course, when he first hit the yard, by us not knowing him, not knowing his personality and his his character. The first time or two, we gave this dude the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, once he continued to put himself in positions to bump heads with other people, then it was time for him to go. And so, then, of course, if you go tell a person, hey, man, you got to leave. You know what I'm saying? You got to get up off the yard. The average gang member is not fit to leave. You know what I'm saying? But now that's telling a person he has to roll up. So eventually, one of the homies knocked him out and he was gone. But now a roll up is not to be confused with a DP. They're two totally different things. Now, say for instance, and also a DP is not always physical. Sometimes it may be through exercise. Like say you did something, this might be your first time in the pen, you don't know. Maybe your homies will talk to you about it. Maybe they might have you. I didn't see where some dudes have to run 12 laps a day and they have to do 500 burpees or something like that. The discipline may also be through exercising. You got to do a whole bunch of burpees. You got to do a lot of strenuous exercise, but it's basically to teach you a lesson. So, unfortunately, about gang culture, period. Gang culture is based around instilling fear, and sometimes they have to instill that fear on their own members. And so, one time I seen a dude get disciplined because he either pulled a knife on his homies or he was talking about pulling the knife on his own homies, which is a very humongous no-no, So, long story short, one of his homies knocked him out right there on the yard. But now, after they knocked him out, that was it. They didn't force him to go. They didn't tell him he had to leave. That was his discipline. He just got punched on. See, a discipline, like I say, is not to be confused with when you tell somebody they got to roll up. Like say a person has some bad paperwork and maybe he's a child molester or he didn't snitch. Now that's a roll up. They gonna hop on you. They gonna put them things on you. You know what I'm saying? They gonna bust you up. But then you gotta go and you're no longer good anywhere you hit. Now see, the difference between a roll up and a discipline is because you may get DP'd on the yard. You may get disciplined and punched on, and the police see the altercation and all three of y'all or four of y'all go to the hole, and then you still may be good to come back to that yard or program with your collective on another yard. Like I say, it just all depends on the nature of the infraction, and it all depends on what collective you running with, So they it varies, And so the question is this then: can a person discipline one of his homies and really have love for him? So that's the question. How can you beat the brakes off your own homeboy and still have love for him, or he still have love for you? And see, that's the cold thing about gang banging and caught up, because being a gang member, that's part of what comes with the territory. You may have people who don't gang bang and say, oh man, that shit couldn't happen to me. But like I say, a real person who's deeply embedded in the gang culture, he accepts all that because he knows it comes with the territory. Now, he doesn't necessarily accept it happening to him, or he doesn't necessarily want it to happen to him, but it's part of what they signed up for. Now, like for me, I've done 24 years straight in prison. I never got disciplined once. But it's not because I'm bad, not because I'm a tough guy. It has nothing to do with none of that. I stuck to the rules. The do's and don'ts of prison is not that hard. You know what I'm saying? The majority of times a person get into it, or especially gets disciplined, is self-induced. Like I say, dudes doing things that they can control, gambling and can't pay, drugs, or you may have a dude who plays basketball, but he talks a lot of shit. And, the way he talks shit, he's confrontational, and it's problematic. We almost had to discipline one of our homies for that. So it's just knowing that, it's certain things certain ways you just can't carry yourself in prison, because it's going to be problematic, because prison is based hugely on respect. Nobody wants to be disrespected. Nobody wants to seem made small. So that's the thing, and like I say, I told y'all a story about where we had to go discipline one of the homies by the name of D. I think I said his real name in the story, and if not, it's too late now. I didn't already said it. His name was in the story that I did was Scanless D. I think that was the name of the story, Scanless D. So yeah, like I told y'all, D was running around doing scandalous stuff. You know, long story short, we went up in there, we punched on him. Maybe about 4 or 5 years, 6, 7 years later, who knows? I'm free. I happened to run into D at the casino. He didn't have no problems. He didn't want no problems. He wasn't upset, or at least he didn't show it and act like he was upset about the fact of me punching on him. You know, like I say, he had done some scandalous foul shit, and it all comes with the game. And another thing that I definitely think I have to mention is nobody is bigger than the collective that they're running with, you know, or at least they're not supposed to be, you know. From the dude who's highest on the highest totem pole to the dude who's on the lowest part of the totem pole. Everybody is expected to carry themselves in a certain manner. And in the event you don't, your collective may definitely come see you about it. So, you know, and then it all depends on the individual in terms of, will he really be able to accept that discipline? You know, I done another story and I called it "The Fresno Car Goes Way Too Far." Now, a discipline in my opinion is this here, man. The bigger you are, definitely the more people they may send at you, or they're going to send people who they definitely feel can handle the job. You know, I have seen people who are supposed to get disciplined end up whooping the 2 people who come to discipline him, you know. So, and then really, when a situation like that happens, in the whole total aspect of what a discipline is supposed to be about, the person who won the fight ain't learned nothing. You know what I'm saying? If you send 2 dudes at him and he kick all their asses, you know, so that's why sometimes they may send several individuals. But like I said, a discipline is not when your homeboy fall to the ground, you go to kicking him and stomping him all in the face. Now you treating him like an enemy, you know. And I told a story. The name of that story is called "The Fresno Car Goes Way Too Far." And they was disciplining one of their homies. In my opinion, they went way too far. Now, like I said, a discipline is something that's rooted in the California gang culture. And I don't know if it started on the streets and made its way to prison or vice versa. But it's definitely something that, you know, most gang members are going to accept. You know what I'm saying? Because it's part of the culture, you know. Just for instance, you know, I've heard older dudes say that there wasn't a such thing as putting somebody on to join the hood, basically beating somebody up, you know, to become part of a gang. But at some point in time, that also became part of the culture. So, like I say, in my opinion, you never can discipline an individual and that person not have animosity anymore. You know, that person not have animosity. It's going to be, for me, it would always be hard for me to fully trust an individual if I had to discipline him. Because, of course, you know, despite the deeply rooted and embedded gang culture, we're all human. And some people is going to hold a grudge, you know. And so that's just the nature. That's just the nature of prison, you know, and that's the nature of gangbanging in itself. You know, if you don't stick to the rules that's set by your gang, you possibly can be assaulted. And that's why I say, man, one of my homies had a saying, and it's true. And that saying is this here: it takes a lifetime to build a reputation in your gang. Because, you know, gang members and being in a gang basically is predicated around your reputation. When you have a ruthless, fearsome reputation, you know what I mean, that's something that people applaud you about having when you're in a gang, other gang members, because that's what gang banging is about. It's instilling fear and terror in the hearts of your enemies. And sadly to say, sometimes your own gang members. But like I said, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it takes one time to mess it up. And so the saying, you know, the meaning behind that saying is this: you can be the coldest, downest gang member from 1990 all the way to 2010. You doing everything you got to do. You shooting, you beating people up, you knocking dudes down, whatever. You know, you going to jail, you taking fades, you holding your own, you terrorizing people. But the second you do or you commit an act that's frowned upon, whether it's snitching, whether it's, something that your homies felt was cowardly, turning down a fade, whatever you may have done that's not looked upon as a good thing in the gang culture and community, then suddenly you're going to be marked as a buster. And so all that you've done in the past, all that you've done for your hood, all that you've done, you know what I'm saying, that's forgotten about. You know what I'm saying? And people is not giving no passes, and the gang culture is ruthless, you know. And so at the end of the day, one has to ask himself is gang banging really worth it? You know, is being in the gang really worth it? Because like I say, if you can do all this stuff, for your gang, and then suddenly they turn on you one day because of whatever and beat the brakes off you, is that, is that really love? And does that gang really care about you? So like I say, that's something that's part of the gang culture. And for those who are not in the gang, they may not be able to understand it. And even though it is part of the gang culture, doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. Like I say, it's up for that individual to decide for itself, man. So I just wanted to give y'all a little knowledge about, DPs, disciplines in the California gang culture, and especially the prison, because like I say, disciplines, they happen all the time, and it depends on who you running with and their policies on in the event you will be allowed to program with the homies after you get DP'd. Sometimes, you might get DP'd, and then the next act of violence that has to happen, you have to take care of that in order to get back in good graces with the gang. So like I say, it depends, man, and it's a sticky situation. But the best way to avoid all that is just to do what you're supposed to do if you're gonna be a gang member, because it's not that hard. It's not that hard. But anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.